Lakshmi Narayan. Lakshmi Narayan.
अंकल लाइव चालू हो गया.
Can you tell Manish?
I called him, he's not picking the phone. I will just check once again.
Yes. Hello. क्या बोल फिर एक बार? हाँ. I cannot hear Marco.
This is, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it is okay
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, Shri Mataji, welcome to all to this Sahaj Marriages workshop. So this is the second workshop that we're having today here in Cabella, from Cabella, about Sahaj marriages. And this is because we wanted to interact with all the yogis around the world in all time zones and be able to get your live questions about Sahaj marriages. So we're streaming, as you can see, from Cabella, from Shri Mataji's living room. This is the place where most of the marriage activity takes place at her lotus feet, at Shri Mataji's lotus feet. And currently, we are in a so I'm sorry. Vicente. So this is the place, as I was saying, where most of the marriage activities take place. And currently we are on a Zoom call with other members of the IMC who are connected and who later on will be also able to answer your questions. So this meeting will remain available on YouTube for those who were not able to watch it in real time, live. Um, One important things you see below at the bottom of every slide that we will show, there are two uh, important contact details. One is the WhatsApp number on which you can write your questions. And the other one is an email. If you don't have access to WhatsApp, you can also send us an email with your questions during the presentation. So we will try to address your question during the presentations, but in the end, in any case, we will have a session of question and answer where we will respond to all other more specific questions that you have sent. So the program for this next 2 hours is we will have a meditation, then we will listen to a video of Shri Mataji, a talk on marriages from 1988 in Rahuri, Shri Adishakti Puja. Then we will go through this presentation about Sahaj marriages. This part will be identical, will be the same. We will repeat the recording of this morning session because it is so that you can have the same information. And then we will get back live and we will answer all your questions that have come throughout the presentation. So now we will move to the meditation. And currently, what you're seeing is a Zoom call. So we have members of the International Marriage Committee also connected that will be able to answer your questions whenever we'll get to those. So we can raise our Kundalini and put ourselves in balance. Bow to you, Shri Mataji, you who are Shri Adishakti, the power of God Almighty. You who are the giver of life, the giver of freedom, the giver of realization. You who are the mother of all universes and of all beings. You who have established the family of Sahaja. Jai Shri Mataji. We can take our attention to our Muladhara and say the mantra to Sri Ganesha. Om Tvameva Saksha Shri Ganesha Saksha Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo. Shri Ganesha, we pray to you who are our elder brother, who are our example. Please lead us into auspiciousness. Please bless us with your auspiciousness. Please bless us with your wisdom. And may we always act, think, desire in ways we can please our Mother. Now we can take our attention in our sacrum bone, on our Kundalini. And with respect, we bow to our Kundalini, who is the reflection of Shri Adi Kundalini within us. We can say the mantra to Shri Gauri Kundalini. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Gauri Kundalini Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Namah. Now we can take our attention on our left channel. Shri Mataji, you who are Shri Mahakali, we bow to you. You are the power of God, the power of love. Please fill our left side, our left channel with pure love, with pure desire, so that we may reflect your love. Shri Mahakali Bhairam. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Mahakali Bhairava Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji, Shri Nirmala Devi, Namo Namaha. Now we take our attention to our right channel. Shri Mataji, who are Shri Mahasaraswati, we bow to you. You are the doer. Please fill our right channel with your divine vibrations. May our actions, may our thoughts be pure, and may they reflect your divine will. Shri Mahasaraswati Hanuman. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Maha Saraswati Hanumana Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. We can take our attention to our heart, left anahat, and pray Shri Mataji. Shri Mataji, please allow us to worship your holy lotus feet in our heart. Please come in our heart, enlarge our heart, so that you may be there. Make our heart a source of love, of divine love. Shri Shiva Parvati. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Shiva Parvati Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. Now we take our attention to our Sahasrara. And again bow at Shri Mataji's lotus feet in our Sahasrara. Bow to the Queen of Sahasrara, the giver of moksha, of freedom, liberation, and self-realization. Our Divine Mother. We can say the third mantra of the Sahasrara. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Kalki Sakshat Shri Sahasrara Swamini Moksha Pradayani Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. And now, while keeping our attention in our Sahasrara, we will watch a video of Shri Mataji. It's Adi Shakti Puja in Rahuri, 1988.
And enjoys it. It's a sign of me. Absolutely a sign of you. And then you start playing games. You enjoy it. Yes, no, yes, no. You go and enjoy those games. And later on, you play into it so much that your marriages can never be happy or successful. That means you are not yet mature for marriage. For marriage, you are to be mature. But one of the reasons for this I find the best is that you have had no training at all. Parents have never told you how to behave towards your husband, towards your wife, how to make a marriage successful. That is a very important event, and that we should try to establish ourselves in the marriage system. Instead of that, we use it as a nice trick playing ground. We miss the point. Who is the loser? If you go on playing tricks like this and playing with your ego, whatever you may do, whatever type of marriages you have, you can never be happy. Now in the West, as you know, I lead another life also. And every person I've met, every person, whatever country they live in, nobody seems to be happy in their marriage. It's very surprising. It seems every wife finds something wrong with the husband finds something wrong with the wife. And they have funny, miserable faces. They don't look like married people, but as if like criminals. Or something has really gone wrong with them. There's no smile on their face. They look horrible because they missed the point. Marriage is to be enjoyed, is for your enjoyment. Supposing one gives you the amrut as they call it. And then you start big trick with it. Who is the loser? So must know that we have to achieve that magic and enjoy it. Basically, if something is very wrong, or if there's no possibility of a proper marriage, in Sahaja Yoga we have arrangement to give it up. You can change your wife, change your husband, no problem. But there must be some reason behind it. Just for fun's sake, if you want to spoil your life, I try my level best to tell you that don't spoil your life and the of the other person. But people enjoy sometimes spoiling somebody's lives when it comes to the ego part. They themselves cannot enjoy dog in the manger policy. Dog in the manger cannot eat the grass, but barks at any wood that comes to eat it. It's like this. Neither they will enjoy, nor they will allow others to enjoy. And when such stupid couples are there. I have such a headache all the time, reconciling them, talking to them, asking them. I mean, it becomes a marriage beautiful. Sometimes I reach such a conclusion, no more marriages inside. I did about it. Actually, what have I to gain out of it? This is nobody who tries to understand. What I'm trying is to make you happy, to get you good husbands and good wives. That you should have good relationships, you should have great people on this earth to be born, that we should have a society which is beyond all these nonsensical societies, which is so great that we can create a homogeneous family among ourselves of purity and of holiness. Instead of that, for petty nonsensical things, if there's a fight going on, one gets really fed up. Of course, one has to try. But if you are bent upon cutting your roses, how can I go on keeping them back? It's an eternal problem. If you marry, say, 75 people, you are at the enjoyment of it. Now, if it's a ocean of Indian Ocean, say for example, but then you get the Pacific Ocean back on your head with all the cries and weeping and shouting and screaming and all sorts of nonsense that's going on. So I again say that now we are going to Pune, where all the marriages are going to be confirmed. If you go on like this, there's no end. Also, those people who come for marriages and deny twice, third time I don't ask, because it's a joke going on. You do not know how many nights I spent selecting people. As it is, you are from 25, 30 countries, yesterday you saw that. You have different conditionings, different styles, different heights, different ages, different faces, different aptitudes, different. So combine all these things so very difficult. Sometimes I think if you are overeducated, then better to give you a simple woman so that your little pressure is reduced. You can share with them. But if you are equally educated people, then both the heads may be. So I have to think of many days and of vibrations. But somehow or other you can define. And you try to define. All right, doesn't matter. But who is the loser is the point. Today I have to speak to you about this. Because in Sahaja we have to take the way it comes as it comes. Whatever comes in our way, we should not sort of say, I've fallen in love. There's nobody falls in love, it rises in love. That is some funny idea, that one must fall in love. Because, you see, that means you must do something sinful or something absurd. So many people have told me, Mother, I'm not fallen in love with you. How can you fall in love? You fall into some ditch or you will fall into some river or something like that. I didn't understand how to fall in love. It's a solid stuff. So this absurd idea of falling in love has to be given. If it means that you have felt the love, or if it means that you have the sensitivity of feeling the love, or something I can understand, a little explanation. But this falling in love business has been going on and on and on. Now, I would request you that in Sir Yoga we cancel this terminology. So, problems of marriage will not arise in such. You are charged for 1 month to decide for yourself. I have to find out for this. Little bit I So this whimsical behavior suddenly can be very injurious to the growth of surgery. Whenever I go to England, there's a list of people from all over the country. This marriage has gone wrong, that has gone wrong, that has gone wrong. While I'm boasting to everyone that Sahaja marriages never fail. I know it's not true. But whatever I say in the mantra, ultimately it becomes the truth. So time will come when no marriages will fail. But you have to join hands with me and cooperate and should understand how much I've worked hard to bring about these events. And marriage should not make you happy or unhappy, because to marry is not the ultimate in life. But it happens after marriage, people get lost. They don't come to Sahaja. After that, we are enjoying our honeymoon for the last 3 years. Oh, wonderful Sahaja, please, you are leaders. Suddenly get lost. That also may be a fall in love, maybe, I don't know. But this kind of nonsense, even if it is one, it is such a headache. And I need to know how to solve these problems, because I think there's no problem at all. Only thing you have decided not to enjoy it. Suppose you don't want to enjoy the food, you can put some filling on your tongue and then say, I don't like the food. Something like that. It's absurd. So try to help me in this. Otherwise, I'll give up this marriage business. I tell you. Because it doesn't give me any joy or pleasure. Even one person feels like that, I just don't understand. And for no rhyme and reason, you should not say no. First of all, you must look at yourself in the mirror. What are you? What is your education? What is your intent? What do you expect from another person? How much money you have got? How much money the other person has got? Whatever you want to see, let's see for yourself. To begin with, then compare. But the greatest thing you have to think about, how many vibrations you have. How much Sahaja the other one knows. You are married for your present. If the other person has vibrations much more than yours, then you should not unnecessarily boast of nonsensical gross things. The person is much subtler. Make use of that. Whether it's a woman or a man, I don't say. But I just say that see for yourself, where are you? Especially for beginners who are beginning to take to surgery. It's better to marry some mature surgery so that they can ascend very well, much faster. And also, if the other party is not so good, maybe we have to work. We have to save that person. After all, they are not yet mature, but they are surgeries. They want to do it. So try to work it out in that way. I think you will understand the seriousness. This is the most important work that ever happened on this earth so far. Your marriages are very important. I may have seen the photographs where the gods themselves are blessed because of my consent, because of my selection. They all were present in your marriage, and how they were giving you tributes and how they were putting flowers on the brides, you have seen the photographs. If you have not seen, I'll show you. But if you are not a seeker, and if you are not seeking your higher self, then you go into nonsensical things and nonsensical ideas. So better be careful not to do such a thing. Don't think too much of yourself. Another note of caution, that you see the way Indians pamper their son-in-laws. So don't get mad. Also, they pamper their daughter-in-laws very much. It's done in India to create better relationships. Because we don't have the balloon of ego so much here. But here, as soon as somebody pays attention to you, you go off. So better be careful. It's a custom here to look after the son-in-law, look after the daughter. That's a custom. Now it is ingrained from ages. It doesn't mean that you are God or you are in some superlative condition. But it's just that is how they pamper. They look after the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law, normally. And you should not carry away ideas, which I must tell you, because it doesn't happen in the West. I've seen they don't care. Once they are married, they are finished. It's not so. So please be careful when you are married Indians. You'll find the parents will quite pamper you, look after you, they call you to their house, do this, give you money, give you ornaments, all kinds of things. But still, one has to understand that it's just a custom. And should not get pampered. On the contrary, should feel blissful about it. But when it is done, I've seen suddenly they go off. And they think knowing themselves. Their value system goes off. It's because so far we have had no education, no training about marriages. I'm sorry I have to say this in the presence of many Indians. But Indians also usually expect you to understand.
Shri Mataji. So we have just heard from Shri Mataji's words about the importance of marriages, and now we will go through a presentation where we will explain, first of all, what are Sahaja marriages, how they are performed, and what will happen this year. So what are Sahaj marriages? Sahaj marriages have been established by Shri Mataji long time ago. And the first marriages happened at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. At that time, the Sahaja Yoga family was a bit smaller and there were less yogis who got married. So it was the ceremonies were quite small, and but from then Shri Mataji started developing the Sahaja marriages into a collective happening as it is now, and as it was basically in, let's say, we will refer mostly to the years after the 90s, okay? Because from that time, the marriage ceremony was established and fully defined in the protocols and in the ways that we conduct marriages. So the Sahaj marriages are traditional marriages, and by traditional we mean they are arranged marriages. So they're not the marriage where people look for their partner and decide to get married. So if a person wishes to have a Sahaj marriages, this is done according to Shri Mataji's indication, and the arrangement happens by putting in practice what Shri Mataji taught us about the worldly elements to consider in a marriage and the vibrational element. And the vibrational element is final, meaning is the element that decides whether these marriages are auspicious and they are the will of Shri Mataji, the desire of God. But let's go back to what are the principles behind the Sahaj marriages. Sahaj marriages, they happen in the collective, and they happen in with the basis of purity. Purity of relationships within the collective is the basis of such marriages. You know, it's the same as for us as individuals, where our Muladhara Sri Ganesha principle is the basis of our ascent, and if it is not there, our Kundalini will not rise. The same is for collectives. So the purity in the collective has to be there for the collective to ascend. And the purity of relationship is key for the Sahaja family, because we are a family, meaning we have one mother, and the relationship that we should have with all the yogis, all the yoginis, is of brothers and sisters. That is the only relationship that is there within the Sahaja family, within the Sahaja collective, local and global. So, Shri Mataji said many times that people should not look for their partner, life partner, within the collective, because this is against this principle of purity and of pure relationships. Second element is second principle is discontinuing the wrong practices or the wrong conditionings that have crept into the society and individuals. So this Shri Mataji wanted to break and discontinue these practices, which are, for example, caste system, the race considerations, or previous religious background. Because, first of all, when we come to Sahaja Yoga, we are given a new life, new birth into Sahaja. So our past is gone. So we shouldn't look at our background or religious background. But also we are all the same. We are all children of Shri Mataji. No differences of country, of race, of place we come from, of, again, caste, or anything like that. These are principles which are not Sahaj and should never be considered as elements for deciding upon a marriage. And mixing people from different countries, different backgrounds, different cultures creates another happening, which is creating a global society, a universal society, a society which can be really one and beyond all differences. And this marriage is also in the past were an instrument for Shri Mataji to work on the countries at global level, at the level of the society, or the conflicts that would happen between different countries or between different cultures. So this is another important principle. And again, applying for a Sahaja marriage means accepting these principles and being ready to accept also changes in one's life and accept this need to create a new global society of Sahaja. So now the question is, should every yogi and yogini marry in Sahaja? Well, marriage in Sahaja is advisable because, after all, if we are practicing Sahaja, we are meditating, we are doing work for Sahaja Yoga, we are working for the benefit of the collective, and that is our life. We wish to have a person next to us which understands, agrees, supports, and these principles. So, if those are our objectives, then of course it is very much advisable to marry Sahaja. But if those are not our objectives, then probably we shouldn't. Because marriage in Sahaja is something that comes from an understanding of the divine principles that are behind. And Shri Mataji put these principles also in writing. And when we do the marriage ceremony, we pronounce some vows. So first question is, for you who want to apply, please read the vows and see if you adhere totally to what is written in those vows that you pronounce before God Almighty in a marriage ceremony. That has to be there. And we have to understand completely what it means. And these vows are provided along with all the forms in the so-called protocol document that we have provided to all countries. So if you didn't get it, please ask your country coordinators or marriage delegates to get this, because it's very important to know what is the vow that you will be taking by accepting a such marriage. And it's a vow in the name of Shri Adi Shakti and in the name of Vishva Nirmala Dharma, the pure universal religion. Second question is, are you willing to accept that there is a collective vibration taking for deciding upon your marriage? It's a life change. It's a life choice. So if you are not ready to do that, of course, you should not apply. Another question, which is more for introspection, when you apply for Sahaja marriage, do you have very strong expectation on how husband or your wife should be, and how they should behave, and what they should do, and how they should, as Shri Mataji was saying, how much they should earn, and how they should be. If you have very strong expectations, there might not be a partner for you in such yoga. So consider that, and consider that also surrender is one of the key elements in the Sahaja marriage. Surrender to Shri Mataji's will, through vibration. And finally, also, this is more to understand if the timing is right. One should ask themselves, are they ready to go into a married relationship, to start a married life with another person? And it's better to introspect and do this, ask this question before, then come to the point of being married, or and understanding that you are not ready for this. Of course, the surrendering part doesn't mean that one does not have a choice. Absolutely. So whatever match is proposed to any yogi or yogini can be discussed between the couple, and they can decide whether to go ahead or not with the marriage. But it should be clear that it is an important act of surrender to vibrations. So let's see how marriages were performed in the presence of Shri Mataji. So we said in the early times of Sahaja Yoga, there were very few yogis who would apply and in small marriages. This ceremony, this picture is from 1981. But after the 90s, mid-90s, for the next 20 years, roughly, the structure of marriages was consistent for those 20 years. And that would mean that Shri Mataji would go around the world to perform international pujas. And during some of these international pujas, specifically, not all pujas, of course, are ideal to have a Sahaja marriage, but during some of these pujas, Shri Mataji decided to have a marriage ceremony. So people who came from all over the world to this international puja would apply for marriage. Shri Mataji would appoint some yogis to verify all the application forms, review them, talk to the applicants, and then even do a preliminary matching of these couples. Then these matches were provided to Shri Mataji, and she would have the final decision on these matches. She would change them, she would cancel them, she would add other matches, and then marriages would take place only at the venue, only at the place where the puja was there. So only for the yogis who were there present at the puja, international puja. Let's see how they happen now. So right now, and I will talk specifically about the activity of the International Marriage Committee. The International Marriage Committee does perform marriages and has performed marriages in the past year since 2011. Mainly on two occasions. One is in Cabela at Sri Ganesha Puja, and the other is in Brazil during Shivaratri Puja. So the ceremonies are arranged not only by the IMC but by the organizing countries that host these international pujas, as it used to happen before. But what happens is that the International Marriage Committee evaluates all application forms once a year in order to collect all the forms of people from around the world and perform the matches. And this happens before Ganesha Puja generally. This is done so that we have the full pool and list of applicants, and this allows to make sure that the best possibility of the match from a vibratory standpoint is there for all the people, for all the applicants. So there are some appointed yogis who do this work, and how do they then ask Shri Mataji if these matches are all right? The International Marriage Committee members, they come to Capella, to Shri Mataji's living room, at her lotus feet, and they take the vibrations on these matches before Shri Mataji's picture, collectively, to ascertain if that's Shri Mataji's wish to happen, if that match has to become a marriage. So as you can see, we have been trying to mirror the process that was happening before, now also. And the question is now, who are the people who do this? What is the International Marriage Committee? So International Marriage Committee was created in 2011 when some elder yogis, Uncle Gregoire, Uncle Duilio, asked some members of the collective to create an international group of yogis who would take forward, following strictly the practices and protocol taught by Shri Mataji, the marriages. So an international group of yogis was created. It was asked all country coordinators to provide candidates who would have a long-standing, committed, with a range of experiences, which had sensitivity, command of the vibrations, and maturity and understanding of Sahaja Yoga and of Sahaja marriages. So they were nominated at that time, and this group was created. It now includes 16 yogis and yoginis from several countries, many continents, and some have changed throughout time from 2011. But these are the members that take part to the matching process of all the applicants. In addition to this, there are two advisors, of which one is Uncle Nalgirkar. Uncle Nalgirkar was appointed by Shri Mataji in those years I told you, after the 90s, mid-90s, and he was trained personally by Shri Mataji on all and every details about Sahaja marriages, and he is the advisor of the IMC, and that can bring this so much precious experience in how to perform matching and marriages. So at this point, I would leave the word to Uncle Nalgirkar. He should be Uncle, if you can open your microphone, and I would invite you kindly to say a few words to all the people who are following us on this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marco. Can you hear me?
Yes, Uncle, you can.
Yeah. You have explained very nicely and in detail. There is not much to explain additionally. All I can say is that IMC is working purely on the values, principles, and the procedures established and guided, directed by Her Holiness Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi Ji. This team, this committee doesn't deviate at all at any cost from those values taught by Shri Mataji. And they have been working almost now 10 years. And as per my information and knowledge, they are doing the best and keeping the values and Sahaja Yoga principles at the top. And so all those who are aspiring to get married in Sahaja Yoga, they are welcome. They can apply through the proper form which has been distributed to your coordinators. You can contact your country coordinators or city coordinators and send the application form. And be assured that this committee does the best to match based on the pure vibrations and no any other consideration like a recommendation, like biasing or some coordinator or some uh, director telling some requirements. So we don't entertain such personal requirements or recommendation. It is purely matched on the worldly data and the vibrations. And also, it is very important. Sahajogis who are young and thinking of marriage, they should marry in Sahaja Yoga because Sahaja Yoga is established by Shri Mataji. This is Adi Shakti's work, and Sahaj marriage is also established by Shri Mataji, which is a part of Sahaja Yoga. And the main aim of Sahaja Yoga, as you know, Shri Mataji has told many times that the Sahaja Yoga has to transform the world. And Sahaja Yoga is for the salvation of the world. And also to establish one universal religion and one universal culture through Sahaja Yoga, that is Vishnu Nirmala Dharma. So the Sahaj marriages is one of the facet, one of the activities towards these goals. And the young boys and girls and men, women should not miss this chance. People like us, we join very late, who already married. But those who are young and to be married, it is the best chance of your life. You should not miss because these are the marriages established by Adi Shakti herself, and the marriages take place in the name of God, that is Adi Shakti. So you will be married in the court of Adi Shakti. All the deities all over will bless and shower flowers on you. So don't miss this chance to marry in Sahaja Yoga. And to the best of my knowledge, the IMC is doing extremely well. No deviation at all at any cost. And so join us by applying for your marriage and allow IMC to find a match for you and perform marriages for you. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you,
Maybe
Auntie.
maybe at later stage, one or two things I may tell, but this is enough because let your flow continue. Thank you very much, dear Marco.
Thank you, Uncle. Please, whenever you feel you need to add anything to the presentation, do so. As I said, IMC has been created with some nomination that came in 2011, and the people who are now part of IMC are part of an informal team. IMC is not an organization, is not an association or a trust or anything. It's a group of yogis, individuals who work for the good of the whole world collective, totally with no attachment, with no with pure desire to serve Shri Mataji, to be instruments of Shri Mataji. And the IMC, this group of yogis, works with all the Sahaja Yoga local associations, trusts, and so on to collect forms, to resolve any issue that there might be, or we work with the World Foundation, which kindly provides us a lot of support and infrastructures. We work with the Central Committee, especially in those cases where there are some issues in some countries to understand better, because it's not our job to manage that, but to make successful marriages only. And in order to do that, these are our basic principles. And the first is to uphold strictly, as much as we can, the protocols, the practices, the teachings that Shri Mataji gave us around marriages. And this, as I said, we have built a process which mirrors, as much as possible, of course, the process that was happening when Shri Mataji was in Sakarapur. So the work of each of us, of the members of the marriage committee, is not linked to their own country, where they are practicing Sahaja Yoga or where they are living currently. We are part of an institution that has to cater for the whole world, no, whole Sahaja family, not for one's own country only. And this is the attitude with which we work. Moreover, the attitude is an attitude of care and love towards all the applicants, meaning that we try and consider and treat all the applicants as if they are our own child, our own children. To get the best for them. We try to get whatever is best for them. Of course, ultimately, the vibrations will tell what is best for them. And we take the vibrations collectively. There is no individual which is doing things on their own. We are doing it only collectively, because collectivity is what guarantees the best reflection of Shri Mataji's will within the process. And so we can overcome maybe individual problems of tiredness and so on. I'll tell you exactly how we work a bit afterwards, but it's a big and intense activity. We try to avoid personal attachments, meaning if there is a case or a match of people who we know very well, or even our relatives, it can happen. We try to avoid attachment to it, or sometimes we just witness the process by the other members. And finally, the confidentiality. Confidentiality is key for our process, because the applicants, all the people who apply, they trust the IMC with their most intimate information, personal information about their past, information about their health, and all of this is kept totally confidential by the IMC. The process, as it was before, is the same now, is that the applicant will provide all of this information to their own country coordinator or local coordinator. That country coordinator will give this information to the IMC. So the only people who will see your information are those country coordinators to whom you give the information and the IMC members. This information will never go out. And we have written a long, big privacy document which explains to you what we do with all the information. And the only information that gets out actually is the announcement part, where we have to announce the name of the people and we have to give you the contact details of your match. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to contact him or her. Nothing else. So you can be assured that this confidentiality is maintained at the highest level. In terms of activities that we do, apart from, let's say, organizing, writing the protocols, and doing all of that, providing the information to the country coordinators, creating the forms, what we do is when we start the process, we start collecting application forms from all the countries. And this means hundreds and hundreds of applications every year that are managed. And this means that for each and every application we receive, we have to go through it, read it properly, find out if there is some missing information, some conflictual information, if there is something that we cannot understand, because sometimes maybe they're written by pen and it's not clear. So every application has to go through this first analysis. And then if something is missing, we have to go back either to the applicant or to the country coordinators to ask for more details and get all of those. Then we will take these forms, the data in these forms, and put them in a more manageable form, digital form, which we keep in our private area. And then, and this means transcribing basically all the content of the form. Then we start doing a pre-matching. So the first analysis we do on the forms is based on the worthy elements that Shri Mataji taught us about. And for each applicant, we'll have to find 4, 5, sometimes even more options based on worldly elements. So that from the worldly standpoint, there is a good basis of a match. And then all of these potential matches, multiplied by hundreds of applications, are tested through vibrations. Until 2 years ago, we would all sit here before Shri Mataji in her living room, take the forms, put them at her lotus feet, and all together take the vibrations and find out if vibrations were cool for that marriage or not. This year it will be much more complicated, meaning we might have some members present here with social distancing and all the rules. But then many members will not be able to come from all over the world to Cabella. So we will connect them online. And all these sessions will be performed in presence and online of vibration staking. So it will be much more time consuming and a bit more complicated. And of course, the goal is to do it still by maintaining a connection to Shri Mataji, because if you think that we take thousands of matches, vibrations for matches, it's an activity that usually when we're in presence take 7 to 10 days, morning to evening, late night even. So this year it will need to be a bit different and a bit more complicated, but we will do that this way. And then once this process is finished and we have found matches for all those who had cool vibrations, which means that sometimes we don't find good vibrations for some people who cannot get a match, and that is normal. We will announce matches, and I'll tell you the dates in the next slide. And then the other activities that as IMC we do is we try and keep track of all the matches that have been performed, if they have been accepted, if they have become a marriage, because the only difference I would say to the years after the 90s is that while Shri Mataji would match and marry people who were present only at the ceremony, so all the other people didn't have the chance to do that. Now we are accepting forms also from people who are not coming to the ceremony. That makes it a bit more difficult, of course, because people have to talk to each other over the phone or Zoom now and discuss and take a decision. But also at the same time, also for the people who were present at the ceremony, it was not an easy thing because they had maybe 1 or 2 days to decide, and so each has its own challenges. But as I said, now that people maybe cannot all come either to Cabella or to Brazil, we try and provide a match also for those people. And then they can decide to marry. They can decide to marry even at another marriage ceremony around the world, or they can decide to marry legally in their own country and then have maybe a collective marriage. But the Sahaja marriage in principle is a collective marriage ceremony, not individual marriage ceremony. It's a collective marriage ceremony where all the couples together get the blessings of the divine at Lotus feet at an international event gathering. And so I started anticipating that this year is a bit different. So we decided to have these workshops, first of all, to explain properly how it works, to also make applicants aware of what are such marriages as at the start, but also so that in this situation of the pandemic, it is clear what are the steps, the deadlines, and This is happening this weekend, so we will have another workshop in the afternoon today. And these workshops, then, for those who were not able to see, they may be viewed at a later stage on YouTube. They will be private videos, so we will provide the links to the country coordinators and reference. Next weekend, we have arranged an international Havan on the subject of marriages, and we thank our Swiss brothers and sisters who have kindly agreed to organize this. Then we are collecting testimonies from all over the world, from couples that have married in Sahaja. And this is because we would like to give you also the experiences, the point of view, the way, some way to interact with yogis who have married in the past and know about their experiences. So on 22nd of May, there will be an evening program on marriages, which will include a lot of these testimonies. The most important date is June 20th. June 20th is the date where we will stop accepting application forms from coordinators. So it means that in your own country, the deadline might be a bit earlier for the coordinator to receive an application from the applicant, because they will also have to review the application. They will have to check it to see if it's all right, and then send it to the IMC. So while June 20th is the deadline for IMC, your deadline should be checked with your local country coordinators or local council. From then, the whole activity that I explained to you will start. Before it would happen physically, in presence, now it will be done remotely, which puts some challenges. But the goal is to announce on 22nd July all the matches, and that is before Shri Guru Puja weekend. So announcement will be done as it was happening before, at an evening program before an international puja, and there will be public announcements, meaning we'll have an evening program and the names will be announced like we were doing also in the past years. They will be streamed on internet. So the names will be announced, but if for any reason of privacy, people do not want their name to be announced, they should write it in the application form. Generally, we announce all names. So if we don't see anything on the application form, if there is no specific good reason for not announcing the name, they will be announced to the whole Sahaja family at that time. Why 22nd of July? Because that gives the time to yogis and yoginis to get in touch, to talk, to discuss, to see, and to decide. And after they decide, they will probably have to get a visa, which might take time, or they might have to do quarantine. We don't know still what's going to happen at that time. So it requires some time for the people to do all that is needed to come to Cabela on 5th of September for Sri Ganesha Puja weekend. So the hangar in Cabela is a wide space which can accommodate a number of couples with physical distancing, and this is a, I would say, spiritual religious ceremony in the name of Vishwadirmadha. So we expect that the rules for this might allow us to do it. Of course, we will not have
all the parents and relatives, and probably we cannot have other people within the Hanggar, maybe only the couple, but the goal is to perform the marriages in Kabela at Shri Ganesha Puja with all the possible rules of in order to allow for regulations to be respected. There is still a chance that this might not happen. And in that case, we'll have to find alternate accommodations. And we will definitely be in touch about this. So now we come to a bit more visual way and understanding of how to apply. So we'll go through the process. We'll tell you some specific advice, and thank you to our sister Shalini who helped us prepare these more visual slides for you to understand what is required to apply for such marriage. Again, first of all, applying for such marriage means introspecting and working on yourself, asking those questions that I told you earlier, listening to Shri Mataji's talks on marriage, talking to leaders, local marriage committees, or couples who have marriages in your collective to get their advice, and this is a preparation that each of us has to do before applying. But then another important thing to do is read the document that we provided, the protocols and principles, because again, it will give you a very clear idea of what such marriages are, what are the commitments that you take, there are the vows, all the information about the process. So it's something that you should do nicely, putting proper attention to it, reading. It's not a huge document, so you can read it nicely and quietly. So, and please, and these are ways not to do it. So, even if you think you know what marriage is about, even if you read it, it keeps changing, evolving. So please reread it and read it before applying, not after you have applied, because the situation might be different from what you expected. When you take the decision to apply, of course, we are Sahaja yogis, meditate, take the vibrations, see if you feel it's auspicious for you to apply. You might not feel peaceful, you might feel tense because it's a big thing also, but of course, it's a big decision, but do it whenever you feel that it's the right time and you are ready for it. So don't do it just because, you know, all your friends tell you, no, you have to do it. Put your name down, put your name down. Don't do it to resolve your problems. Problems, issues are to be resolved before marriage, possibly, to make the marriage successful. And this marriage is not like going to the hospital and one will get better. If you get to a marriage and you are not ready for it, you're not prepared, and you didn't do what you had to do, marriage might fail. And it might fail not only for one person, but for two people. Because two people are involved in a marriage and it's affecting the life of other people. So try and come to the place where you marry in the proper state. When you fill the application form, remember that this application form will end up at the lotus feet of Shri Mataji. So think about that, fill it up truthfully, honestly, with attention, with proper care, and not, just by the way, or do it together with other people, or ask other people to fill your applications. It might happen. So do it properly and try to be aware of the importance of this application for your life, because it can potentially change your life, and it's important that the form includes all the information that are required to make the proper match and the proper matching, vibratory take. And for vibrations, it's important that, for example, one simple element, the photo is a good photo, is clear, is because we also have to put our attention on the forms, on the person that is applying, on the couple, and it's important that we are able to take properly the vibrations of the applicants. So please, no photos like this where we can see only your nose or your ear because it's fashionable photo, or a photo where it's like a funeral. Sometimes we see photos, or there are some photos which are dark spots on the form. You cannot make out even if he's a man or a woman, or other very nice photos with your cat, or because we might take the vibrations of your cat instead of yourself. And no kidding, once we received an application from a boy, which had his friends on the photo. So there were two people in the photos. We didn't even know who was applying for marriage. So no, don't do that, please. Nice photo, nice application, nice attention to the application. Very important to be also honest, and please trust that this information doesn't go anywhere. We have to know if there is any problem, because when the problem comes up afterwards, after the match or after the marriage, sometimes it becomes a very unhealthy situation for the couple. And so if there is any problem that which you want to highlight, please do so with honesty, and don't find an excuse, don't put things that are untrue, because that doesn't help then the matching and the marriage process. So this is the application form. You might have seen it or not. There are some personal information which you have to fill. All the information needs to be filled. Very important, the Saj center where you were practicing, because that is one element that Shri Mataji put our attention on. So where we practice Sahaja Yoga the most is our most intimate family, which means we try and avoid matching yogis and yoginis from the same collective, from the same city center, as this is really a very intimate family where sometimes it happened also in the past, also with Shri Mataji it would happen, but the indication is to avoid that. So be clear on which center you have practiced the most Sahaja Yoga, or at least where you are practicing now for the past years. You can see that the photo in the PDF is can be attached from the computer. So if you cannot go out to take a picture at the photo booth or whatever, you can take a selfie nicely, put it on your computer, and you click on the form, and you can load the photo in the form from your computer. So No need to staple or print anything. Of course, date of birth is very important, physical characteristics, education is also important, because people should have a similarity, or at least they should be able to interact with each other in the right way. Languages, previous relationships or previous marriages also should be described, and then ties, commitments, responsibilities, conditions, requirements. So we always say that when there is a strong condition or a strong requirement, please introspect properly about that. If you have specific conditions which are not related to our Sahaja life, let's say, so really think about it and meditate and work it out to really try and achieve that state of surrender to the vibrations. But if you still have, please write them down, because we will consider those. Better to know it beforehand than to know after the match or after the marriage that, no, I wanted something different, so it will not work, and we create a difficult situation afterwards. And this is basically it. The willingness to change country is another important question. If you are unsure, write unsure, or write something in the notes. There is a room for writing whatever you want in the form. So this form will then have to be given to your local city coordinator or country coordinator for them to review it, fill it, and send it to us. So it's very, very important you do it at the right time, and you give it in time, but the time given by your process, local process in the country. If there is any change, you can inform us or inform your country coordinators about the change. If you want to get out of the process, we will remove you from the process. If there is something that has changed in the meantime, other information, please do so. Again, it's important to know it before. If we know it after, it might not be the best situation. And then again, keep working it out. Especially after the match, the request is to contact your match immediately. So you have to meditate, of course, but don't close yourself in a cave meditating and disappear from the world. You should have done this work before the announcement. After the announcement, your work is to contact your match, because you will not have much time to talk, to decide, and to plan your trip to Cabela for the marriages. And will require you to inform us of your decision, so that also we can arrange and plan and make space here for the marriages. So it's very important that sometimes, unfortunately, it happens that people have not properly worked on themselves, they have not properly introspected, meditated, listened to Shri Mataji's talk. So when the match is announced, they disappear, they go into shock, and this should not happen, because there is another person involved into this match, and we should think about that also. So it's very important to, throughout the process, try and work it out. Shouldn't be the only thing in your life, of course. There is Sahaja work also to do, but be aware that it's a life-changing event. And of course, then there is a moment when you have to surrender to Shri Mataji. Um, but also it is important to be aware that we also are very much responsible for what happens next. And it's in our free will that we can make a marriage successful or not. And it's in both the spouses free will and decision that we can work it out in a way that, as Shri Mataji says, procures joy to the couple, to the collective, and to the whole Sahaja family. So, I already told you about places where you can find more information, like the document on Sahaja protocol, marriage protocol. There are a lot of talks that are on the web. Amruta.org is one source. There are other sources in local languages, maybe, but there are many talks on Sahaja marriage. There is also a book on marriage in Sahaja Yoga, which I think can be found also on Amruta, but also online, is there, which contains a lot of excerpts for Sahaja marriages. So, again, now we have received some questions. Now I will start looking at the question that you have sent. So,
now we will answer in real time to your questions. I'll just switch to the page where you can see the contact details so that you can send further questions if needed. Okay, so now it's the time where you can send us your live question. During the transmission, we have, during the presentation, we have already received some question, and I will start answering the question that we received. And Uncle and other IMC members, please also feel free to add if needed. So once again, you can send a question either to the WhatsApp phone number or to the email application at Sage Marriages if you prefer. So first question is, I would like to know whether I can apply if I have a part-time work. Do you take working parameter into consideration? And the answer to this question is the working parameter in itself is, of course, relevant, but it is more relevant to be aware and know if you are capable to maintain a family. So the working parameter is something that you would consider in any cases where you are working, so whether you are married. So if you take a decision to marry, and let's think in general, not necessarily in Sahaja, but when do you decide to marry another person? When you are ready to start a family and support a family. Otherwise, I believe it will be hard to take that decision. And the Sahaja marriage is a marriage. So that consideration has to be done. Am I ready to come into family life? Um, will the family be able to live? Uh, so this is one consideration. Then some question about receiving a confirmation email. So in the past, we sent confirmation emails, as we said earlier, on the 2019 ceremony only, and it was to understand and ascertain if people were actually coming or not coming to the ceremony. So from this year, we will send to all an email asking if there are any changes to the situation, if people are planned to be coming. So you will all get an email. Then, if we acknowledge some health problem in the application form, does this affect the possibilities of getting a good match? So, the good match is defined by vibrations, not by health problems or any other problems. So we definitely try to consider all the application in the process, um, as we said, as if all are our children. So not only the people who have issues, all of them. So we have to take care on both sides of the equation of the match, and not only for health issues. In case of any significant issue that might affect the life afterwards and the marriage afterwards, um, we will have to take some considerations for that. Meaning that if a match is found, we might need to discuss about this issue beforehand with the match, because the person before the announcement even might need to know and decide beforehand that, okay, this is a good vibratory match, there is this issue, are you willing to move forward with announcement with match? So it's for transparency, for respect to both parties, for both matches, and often this has come to a successful marriage. So, but of course, if there is some serious problem, then we'll have probably to discuss it beforehand. Somebody is asking, can I send directly my form through email? No, you can apply through your center leader, through your country coordinator, through your local delegates for marriages. We accept application only through the national, let's say, Sahaja Yoga uh, coordinators. I am 58 years old. Can I put up my application form? Yes, you can. You can submit your application form. We have had in the past applicants from any ages. So, and we treated them even if they were much elder to us, like our children also. Uh, for the past few years, a person have been traveling and he doesn't have any one collective where a person stayed for more than 2 years. Can you give the current collective address? Yes, of course. I mean, we would ask for a reference, which means we will need to speak or to get some information from any center representative or leader. So please find the person with which you have interacted the most throughout your Sahaj life, with which you have been able to make yourself known or have performed more activities for Sahaja Yoga, and that we will accept that. Do you match people who are new in Sahaja Yoga to each other, or there is possibility that you match a person who is more than 2 years with a person who is for longer time? Example, 10 years or born in Sahaja Yoga. Yes, we can match people that have different experience in Sahaja Yoga. Of course, on we rely also, on the level of understanding, on the maturity in Sahaja Yoga to take some specific decisions, and on the commitment that people have shown and displayed to work for Sahaja Yoga. And those also are elements. So it might be that one person who is for a very short time in Sahaja Yoga has had a very uh, great dedication, commitment, and so there is no reason why they should not be married to or matched with people who are in Sahaja Yoga from a longer time. And now maybe we will. There is a question about the link to the Havan. So we will enable now the chat, and we'll paste in the chat the YouTube link for the Havan that will take place next weekend. And we will do that in a minute. If we have been part in more than one country collective, is it advisable to write all of them? Not necessarily. Definitely, if you have had enough time in your last collective of Sahaja Yoga, then you can apply from that collective and through that collective and through that center. Are there some specific subtle advices to do? So I would say that the subtle advice is something that is very personal. So depending on each one's own situation, to get into the marriage, definitely, I think in the end, it is the key thing is understanding truly uh, the reason why we want to get married in Sahaja Yoga. The if our if our reasons are aligned to what Shri Mataji has told us, that are the vows that we have to accept in Sahaja Yoga, and the commitment, and introspecting and finding out if there is still something that is lingering maybe in our heart that cannot make our marriage successful, because as you heard in Shri Mataji's speech, uh, love is something that we have to build, and so we should be certain that our heart is ready to build, and with through the love of Shri Mataji, but build love and create a beautiful family. And then it would be also good maybe to ask for advice in your collective to the people who are more near to you, and see also with them have them like witnesses, like mirrors, to see if they can see your readiness, or if they see that there are some uh, behaviors or some subtle things that you might need to work on. So it's a process that again is quite personal. But in the end, we have to open up, surrender to the vibrations from Shri Mataji, and open our heart to a new person that comes in our life, possibly until the end of our life. So, how much will a Sahaj marriage cost? So, when let's say that the matching activity and the whole activity that the IMC does is a bit separated from the actual ceremony itself, meaning that we as IMC have the goal of matching with the best vibrations the couple and giving them the chance to get together and decide whether they want to marry. They can marry in Cabela, they can marry if they can marry in Brazil, they can marry in India, and these have all different costs, because the cost mainly depends on the item that will be provided to the couple for performing the such marriages, and this often is decided with the hosting organizers and includes several other elements. But we will be in touch with Ganesh Puja organizer, and we will see also the um, the cost of the items that will be required to perform the marriage, and we will let the applicants know. In the past, just as a point of reference, in the here in Cabela, let's say, we are talking about some hundreds euro per couple. Should you still apply for marriage when you still experience some difficult vibrational workout from time to time that can leave you feeling close-hearted for a few days? I would say that no, none of us is already in the perfect state, has achieved the full state of God realization. So we all suffer from time to time, from ups and downs. So unless this is a severe state that again can affect future life, I would say that yes, maybe it requires some subtle work, but we are all on the path of getting, better. But if it's something that you feel might be of relevance, talk about it with your country coordinators or delegates. Write something as you feel it in the form. We have a second page in the form where you can write all that you want, and this will be it will be okay to write what you feel and what is the specific situation, so that we might put our attention on it also when we take the vibrations. Where to find a marriage protocol document? So the marriage protocol document is provided through the country coordinators along with the forms. So if you are you want to apply, you will have to receive both an application form and a document, this marriage protocol document. And if you don't, please ask your country coordinators, because we have sent all the package, but sometimes, you know, email is sometimes misplaced. So we can resend to the country delegates or the coordinators, so that the full package is provided to all applicants. Can I reapply for marriage after a divorce? Yes, you can reapply if your divorce has been fully completed, you don't have any legal proceedings to do, and you are ready to marry another person, you can apply, because this other yogi or yogini will want to marry, and if you are not able to marry, it might be a problem. Um, If a match is made on July 22nd, how much time do you have to make a decision? Well, the time to make a decision is mainly up to you and your match, depending on possibly where you live, what are the regulations, what are you will have to take into account that you might need, because of the rule of your country or the Italian rules, and we'll say clearly about it as the time comes, um, that you might do a quarantine before being able to get out of your country or in Italy. So the time is very much affected by this pandemic situation. Uh, so if it's not possible to reach a decision or to be able to come to Cabela, we generally ask the matched couples to inform us after roughly 2 months about their decision. But of course, that will mean that you will have to take part to another ceremony, either, for example, in India, or depending on what we'll do next year, if we do again at Shivaratri or Ganesha, this is still to be planned. After how many years of application do you say that it is enough? Uh, this is a very, very good question, meaning that, as we have explained, unfortunately, you know, there is within the Sahaj family, there is an imbalance in gender. So, unfortunately, you cannot be assured to have a Sahaj marriage. So this is reality, and very few men, lot of women, especially from an age, certain age, and Shri Mataji also talked about this, and she said, I cannot guarantee you a marriage is not in the contract of Sahaja Yoga, but we do our best to take into considerations also people who have applied several times. So we try to take the vibrations often for this. That's why it's important that you write how many applications you have done in the form, because we might sort of relax a bit our parameters without going against Shri Mataji's indications, of course, but we care for all the yogis and yoginis, especially, who are more affected by this problem, which is unfortunately part of our Sahaj family how it is. Uh, so my date of birth on identity card is different from my original date of birth. So I'm filling my form with the original date of birth. Will it be okay? Yes, no problem. Just explain it, but we don't take the copy of your identity card, so we're not going to check if you gave right or wrong. We trust that the date of birth you put in your application form is right. So I was married a long time ago, but the marriage was called off just after the marriage. It was not registered. Will it be treated as marriage by marriage committee? So it was called off a day after marriage by Shri Mataji. So no, I don't think we have to consider this. There was no actual marriage, no interaction with your the married person. So if there was no relationship, no, as a couple, and it was called off one day after, it's not a problem. So could you tell me the exact procedure to be done for Sahaj marriage? I want to apply. So I think we have explained a bit the procedure. In, let's say, just in summary, ask your coordinator and they will give you the forms and, and the documents to read to apply. In this pandemic situation, how Sahaja Yoga marriages will conduct? Yes, as we explained, we are planning to have the marriages in Cabela. The hangar of Cabela is quite wide. It can allow for such a spiritual, and we can call it religious in terms of Vishva Nirmala Dharma religion. It can happen, it can take place. There is enough room to accommodate couples who want to marry with distancing. So that is how they will take place if there is definitely regulation at the time which stops us from doing that. And this cannot be foreseen now, but let's say that the elements in place and the situation that is there might maybe allow to have marriages. Of course, not people from outside might not be able to join, to come in the hangar to celebrate. You might not be able to have crowds of people, but the hope is that the pandemic situation allows us to do it. If our country coordinator mistakenly sends the form a day later or misunderstands the exact date, will you be flexible? Yes, we will be flexible, and we request also you to do it on time. So we can be flexible in case of exceptional circumstances, but also we ask people to do it properly and in time. Okay. Then Okay, I think from WhatsApp we have answered to all the questions. And, did we post the YouTube link too? Okay, so in the YouTube chat box you will find the link to follow online. So I think we have come to the end of this session. And once again, now we take our attention back to Shri Mataji.
Marco,
And
Mr. Marco.
yes, Uncle, you want to add anything to?
No, the morning session, whatever we had question answers.
Yes, those questions were answered in the morning, and people can, if they wish, review the other YouTube, which is available on the same link that
Okay.
of the live session. So people will be able, if they wish, to review this section of the question and answer that took place in the morning also.
Okay. So they have to be told that question answer information available. So if they want to hear, they can hear.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So this is available for you all who are listening now, and you can review both workshops, the morning and the afternoon one, at any time, using the link that was provided through which you connected. So, yeah. Now we can bow again to Shima, our grandmother, who so graciously has come on this earth to save humanity. She came and she gave us the divine knowledge of Sahaja Yoga. And she gave us a new birth into a new family of Sahaja. So Mataji, we thank you for this. We thank you for allowing us to grow within ourselves, to become better yogis. And we thank you to allow us to create a new life for ourselves and a new life as a family within the boundaries of this blessed family of Sachin. And may we be always doing, thinking, and desiring truly what pleases you. We can now sing the three Mahamantras. Om Tvameva Sacha Shri Mahalakshmi Saraswati Mahakali Triguna Kundalini Saksha Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Om Tvameva Sasha Shri Kalki Sasha Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Om Tvameva Sasha Shri Kalki Sasha Shri Sahasra Swami Moksha Prayani Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Shri Nirmala Devi Shri Bolo Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Mala Devi Ki Jai. This one. So goodbye to all of you. Jai Shri Mataji, thank you for your attention, and we wish you best future for especially on the subject of marriages. Bye, Jai Shri Mataji.